Hi, my name is Vivi Stutz. I'm a licensed mental health therapist and I work in private practice, Phoenix Rises Counseling. And today I want to give you one of my own experiences with EMDR from from panic to peace in 1 hour. And that's no joke. That is absolutely accurate. That's what happened to me. And I see this in my clients when I do EMDR every day too. But I can't share their experiences because of confidentiality. So I'm going to tell you mine. And that's exactly what happened. I went from panic attacks to peace and no more panic attacks in 1 hour. And this is what's available for you with EMDR. That's why I don't get tired talking about it. I love talking about it and I want as many people as possible to know what's available. I have to say though, I didn't take just 1 hour of EMDR to get over the panic attacks. I did 10 sessions of EMDR. I have no more panic attacks. I am not using anxiety medication, which I did at the time so I could work. And I don't have anxiety since that one session, since the first session I did with my therapist. So in the triggering event, how I got into another round of EMDR therapy was that I had returned to Los Angeles. And I talked about that in an earlier video. I was run over in a parking lot by a person. The person had fast food bags in his hand and he was running to a big truck. He was running to a big truck and I think his girlfriend was waiting for him and he was very excited. So he just ran me over. But for me, it was a hard jolt from the back and I almost fell and it hurt my back. And it was so triggering that in the moment, I felt just shock. And then I went into a Ralph's and then a Trader Joe's. And I think at the Ralph's, I was having a massive panic attack. And being a therapist, I know that, okay, something happened in the moment and it triggered what I call the trauma spiral. So something scary happened that is connected to many other memories. There's a whole file in my brain that hasn't been finished yet. And so if one scary event happens, all other scary events of the same nature are triggered. And no wonder we end up with panic attacks or a lot of anxiety. So it's not one event that's constantly activating the amygdala and flooding stress hormones and creating all this anxiety. There are actually many. And that's seriously what happened to me in LA. Just being there, it reminded me that other scary events happened there. And I ended up with panic attacks every day and sometimes 3 times a day. It was just riding one wave after another. And that's really uncomfortable, especially since I'm working with clients and I need to be present and I don't want to scare anyone. And anyways, to work with panic attacks, I'm sure if you've had them, you know that that would be very difficult to do. So at first I took some anxiety medication until I got a therapist. And then I had my first session. Being a therapist, though, I already was writing memories back in time. So I came prepared. So maybe this also helped go from panic to peace in 1 hour, even though I know that it happens to my clients as well. But I looked at the trigger, being run over, wrote the feelings back in time, the memories of violence in LA, and showed up to therapy. We did an intake, and we started with the first triggering event, just being run over in the parking lot. And did the eye movements, and we're going to do another video about how that works, so you understand more of the inside of an EMDR session and what to expect. But more old memories of violence surfaced as I was processing. And then it also became clear to me what the overarching belief was that was operating. We call that the core belief, the negative core belief. So if you imagine you have a file in your brain and certain bad experiences are stored there, and you would label that file with the emotions that are coming up when these bad events or scary feelings are triggered. And so for me, that negative core belief was, I'm unsafe. And so I kept processing, and very soon the memory of being strangled on a Sunday afternoon by a person while I was at an ATM machine, that came to mind. And I was processing through that. And with EMDR, there is a lot of, you could call that just associations. The brain moves in a way that memories are connected neurologically. So I went through that experience. And then what came to mind was the next experience of violence in LA. It was being attacked by gang members on a public train. And I processed through that. And then another memory came up. And I really had no idea that memory was there or it ever affected me. It was a childhood memory. And maybe the earliest memory of feeling that way, I'm unsafe. Probably not. But anyways, it came to mind, and it was, I was in Germany. I was raised in Germany. My parents lived there. And my father had gone to a flight show in Rammstein. So where old planes fly, and people love to watch these old planes, and they do maneuvers in the air. But at this event in Rammstein, planes collided in the air, exploded, and the burning wreckage fell into the audience. And so the memory for me was very vivid, that I was in my parents' living room and I was watching TV. In fact, I think I saw it on TV first, that this is what happened, and I told my mother. And my mother just said, it's fine, he's fine. But then she went away into the kitchen, closed both doors. That's possible in a German kitchen. It can have multiple doors. And my mother closed the doors to the kitchen to be alone, probably to deal with her own emotions. But my memory played out as just being alone in front of the TV and worrying about my father, that something had happened to my father, that my father got killed. And it gave me enormous anxiety. And as I was processing it, I noticed that what was really the worst about this moment, was that there was no one there with me to help me feel safe or to help me regulate my emotions. I was a child, and children need to learn that. So that made it very unsafe for me to be alone and helpless with these scary emotions, and also waiting for my father, not knowing what was going to happen. And so we're continuing EMDR until positive insights started to emerge. And this is what the brain does. It goes from negative experiences and the negative belief, I'm unsafe, to the positive, what we call adaptive. The brain is really wired in a way to go from, can say, bad to good, to positive resolutions. And it's just an amazing experience. But so positive insights started to emerge as I was thinking about the scary event, waiting for my father, being alone, worrying. And then the memory changed. And what came to mind was my father returning at night, late at night, couldn't make it out of traffic. He was fine. And he returned and he was very calm. He didn't talk about the event. He didn't talk about what he saw, knowing that I was a little child. And he regulated his emotions so I wouldn't need to be scared. And he reassured me that everything was fine. He had left the flight show earlier. There's nothing he could do to help. It was in a different parking lot and he was just stuck in traffic. And he didn't show me the scary emotions or his own upset that he probably felt. He sat with me and he reassured me. And that insight brought up another insight, that he taught me how to keep myself safe inside of myself. He protected my inner being from fear that I couldn't handle at the time. And that, with EMDR processing, that then led to another insight, that my father taught me a whole lot about how to keep safe. And so then the triggering event, as we continued processing, the triggering event, someone hit me in the parking lot, oh, scary, I'm unsafe, it became updated. It becomes updated with EMDR, so that the initial trigger becomes neutralized, because I rode feelings back in time to another event that was far scarier, and it possibly formed the negative belief of I'm unsafe, and it got updated. Then I was thinking back on this event, waiting for my father, and the imagery changed of my father coming home, reassuring me, and then as I was thinking of that event, I wasn't thinking anymore I'm unsafe. What really stuck with me as a belief was I learned how to keep myself safe. And if I hold that belief, then of course whatever scary thing happened is not so scary anymore, because I hold a different core belief about it. And the positive belief with EMDR becomes dominant. It overrides the I'm unsafe. The I learned how to keep myself safe was overriding it. And then we continued therapy by strengthening this positive belief with other examples of how my father taught me to keep myself safe. He did that a lot, and I became aware of that, how much he taught me. For example, how to cut a potato with a knife, not to point the knife towards myself, but away from myself. Well, he taught me how to keep self. I know a lot of things, how to keep myself safe. And so we strengthen that positive belief to bring it in, hold it. We also neurologically wire it into the brain, which I think is so much more powerful than just talking about it. And then I was revisiting the memories of being strangled and a gang member attacking me. And I realized that even in these situations, actually I knew how to keep myself safe because I'm still here. So I did things that helped me be safe and survive. And I also learned from these mistakes that I made to possibly put myself into situations like that. I guess being on a public train in LA as a woman is going through Compton is not the best idea. But I became more aware of my learnings. And so all these scary events, they became less scary. And at the end of the session, I was just left with this feeling of peace. I learned how to keep myself safe. I know how to keep myself safe. And after that one session, I literally had no more panic attacks. I didn't need any more anxiety medication. I could work. I didn't have anxiety, don't have anxiety right now. And I still ended up doing 10 more EMDR sessions. to continue processing and to continue processing other scary events. You don't want to do just one session. You can imagine that there's this file in your brain, and everything is stored there that goes under the title I'm unsafe. So I did 10 sessions, and still no panic attacks, no need for any medication. I can be much more present at work. What else was there? Oh, and there's lower arousal now. I noticed that also in conflict situations. Things that could make me feel unsafe, maybe a bit uncomfortable, a tiny little bit of anxiety, but I don't feel unsafe. So there isn't this high arousal when something scary happened, conflict with people, or being in public in LA. I felt very, very safe afterwards. Oh, and I even noticed that after these 10 sessions that I was able to go outside and leave the home. That was also another thing that I just wasn't aware of, that it was always difficult for me to leave the house and to go out and just freely enjoy myself and just engage in the moment. I had no awareness before these 10 EMDR sessions, and I was based on other traumas. I always thought I was a homebody and I just preferred to be on site. Not at all now. I love going outside. I love going places. It's summer right now, so I'm having a lot of fun. But that was interesting too. I had no awareness that it was difficult for me to leave the home. And I always thought I'm too busy. I have other things to do. I can only take the weekend off. But really, it was difficult to leave the home. I had no idea. And it's gone. After these 10 sessions, totally gone. And I've heard comments from people who know me. I heard something is different about you. And I heard you seem to glow from the inside. And I heard more comments. I also heard, what did you do? I want this as well. And I referred several people to EMDR therapists in the meantime. But I got comments. And even my husband commented on it and said, like, you seem so different. This is really good for you. And it was. So I hope this is a good example, and I hope I was clear enough. This is an example of what can happen to you if you do EMDR. I literally went from panic attacks that were debilitating, 3 a week, 3 a day. That's just really awful. And then to function and work and with medication. But all of it now is peaceful. I enjoy going outside and I'm fine. So it was possible to go from panic attacks to peace in 1 hour. This has been now 2 months ago, and it has not changed. I hope this is helpful for you, and I hope you will learn more about EMDR, what's available for you, how it can help you, and maybe you'll stay tuned to my channel, subscribe, and maybe hit the notification button if you want to get the next video. I'm going to make a video about the inside of an EMDR session, what to expect, in case you're hesitant to do one or you just want to know more. Take care of yourself, know that you're important, and please know that any kind of misery is not normal, is not necessary, and doesn't need to be there. You really deserve to live in peace and to fully express yourself. And it's possible. Take care.